And welcome back into the Michigan High School Hockey Report. My name is Sean Baligian, kindly being joined by the head coach at Plymouth, Gerry Vento. And first of all, Coach Vento, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show. You know, it's interesting. You guys came up last week during the course of the show, and I think it's safe to say, not to embarrass you, you guys have become one of the powers in Division II. There's no doubt about that. And John asked me, what do you think the next step is for Plymouth? And I promised him that I would ask you. So let's start there. What is the next step for Plymouth?
Well, first, let me just say thank you for having me on. Really appreciate the job you and John do for high school hockey. It really is tremendous. As far as the next step for us, yeah, you know, I mean, we've won a couple regional titles at Plymouth. We haven't made it to USA, and you know that's the next step. I mean, there's no sense, you know, hiding it or beating around the bush. You know, I had a couple. You know, I've had some pretty good teams at Plymouth, and the year we won regionals, we had to go face CC both years, which everyone knows is a struggle, but it is what it is. And you know, yeah, I think that's the goal for every team that is to get to USA. You
know, it's interesting, Gerry, because as you mentioned, I think anybody that follows high school hockey knows that you guys have become, I use the term, one of the usual suspects in Division II. You just know that you're going to be up there. You were a top 5 team for such a long time last year. It's so interesting how this is a situation now where a lot of times it depends on, I don't know, the pull of a hat, the luck of the draw, so to speak, and what bracket you might end up in.
For sure. You know, I mean, last year's a classic example. You know, I mean, Stevenson's been a power in D2, and you know, last year we went to Stevenson early December to pull names out of a hat to see who we were playing, and you know, we found out then it was Stevenson, and I knew, you know, first week of December that come the end of February that was going to be the game of the year. And you know, it's kind of unfortunate. It was a tremendous hockey game, you know, but it is what it is, and you know, the fact that it comes down to that is kind of unfortunate, but not much you can do about it.
Well, and it's, you know, obviously that's something that, you know, I've said so many times, I'd love to see something like that change. It's, you know, I think we saw that twice last year. You know, we saw 2 top 5 type teams, and Houghton and Hancock have to play early on. Right. You guys have to play early on. But, you know, the one thing that I've noticed, and we can talk about the KLA, but outside of the KLA, you are one of the schools that I think are leading the way in regards to, I'll just call it anybody, any place. If you take a look at the Plymouth schedule, you know, you guys are going up north to Alpena, the Sioux. You're going out west. You've really kind of taken on that anyone, anywhere. Talk about that mindset.
Well, you know, I mean, it's a matter of getting ready for the playoffs. You know, you know, it's funny at my parent meeting to start the season. You know, parents saw the schedule, and I told them, I said, look, I said, it's not a schedule designed for a big win-loss record, you know what I mean? It's a schedule designed to get us ready, you know, come the end of February, and that's the only way to do it. I mean, I think we play in the toughest, if not one of the toughest leagues in the state. I said, you know, and then you add the teams we're playing, you know, a St. Mary's, a Brother Rice, a Cranbrook, St. Ignatius is coming in. There's no off night for us.
I always bring up, I use Cranbrook as an example. I did, as a matter of fact, earlier in the show, and I'll use it to you as well, because I think you bring up such a great point about the win-loss record. A lot of times you can look at a win-loss record, and it doesn't tell the story now in high school hockey. No. It's the battle-tested mindset. All right, we took some lumps, but we learned how to win some of these big games. And yeah, you got Heritage coming in, you got Orchard Lake St. Mary's. That's not even to mention, we haven't even touched the KLAA yet. But have you found that your team has responded to that in the last couple of years?
Oh, I think it's been a big bonus. I mean, guys get up for the game. It certainly, you know, gets them battle tested. And you know, when you're building a program and you're trying to bring players to play for you, you want to show them, hey, this is who you're going to play. This is who you're going to be competing against. You know, and it's all about kids want to move on to the next level, and you know, scouts want to come see the better teams play. It's just the way it is, and whether you are that team or not, but if you're playing the better team, it's just better all the way around.
Are you surprised? And I'm going to get off topic for just a second, but this is something that you just brought it up, and I know we were talking about this. Are you surprised that there's still this, I don't know, unfair stigma about high school hockey? Because I'll tell you what, if you talk to scouts, and this is not to bash anybody else, that's not my scene, I'm never going to do it, but if you talk to scouts, they know about the talent in high school hockey. They know that Gerry Vento has guys moving on. They know that other places have guys moving on now from the high school level. Are you surprised that there still seems to be some kind of stigma about high school hockey? It's so 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, me being in the middle of it, I'm shocked by it. Unfortunately, I'll say I think a lot of it is parent driven. There's a mindset, that parents have their kids in certain programs, playing in AAA hockey. They think that's where they got to be. That's where the big money's being spent. So that's obviously where they're getting noticed, and it's just not the case. We fortunately were able to move on a couple guys last year, but there's teams across the state that are doing it, and it's like everything else. There's a lot of coaches doing a lot of hard work out there to build their program, and scouts get paid to find players.
Sure.
And to have the opportunity to play for your high school in front of your peers with your friends that you see every day, until you do it, you really don't understand it.
Yeah, well said. Gerry Vento, the head coach at Plymouth, kindly joins us. Gerry, this is one thing that I'm so happy. I've been banging the drum about this. There's so much talk, KLA, MIHL. You guys all got together and said, okay, let's have a day where we showcase what both of those leagues are doing. Your thoughts on the KLA, MIHL getting together and having a little showcase like that?
Last year was the first year, and and Dave Mitchell put it together, Stevenson, and it was a tremendous day. And yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for either league being the top in the state, but I think it's safe to say those are the top two, and you get some really tremendous matchups all day long. And that was a classic example that day. One of our players got noticed by a scout and ended up playing there in the North American League. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun game, to coach in, but it's a great day to spend at the rink because you're seeing the top teams, whether it's Rice, CC, Stevenson, Brighton, Heartland. They're all there.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. And great point, too, because I'll tell you what, I got there late after working my day job. The amount of scouts that were in the back room where the coffee and everything was, that were sitting around talking and everything, certainly a chance to be noticed. Hey, before we let you go, just your thoughts in the KLA, where the league has come from. I think it's always been good, but I think what you've seen in recent years is you've seen some programs say, all right, we better keep our shop in order or else you're going to get run. And it just seems like it goes like this year by year by year.
It is crazy. I mean, the powers are still the powers, and everybody is just stepping up their game. We saw what Churchill did last year, making their run. Our lockers across the way from Canton. They're making changes. They're progressing. It's a really tough league. It's night in, night out. And, you better be ready to play.
You bring up a great point, too. Your neck of the woods is so interesting because you have Plymouth, Canton, and Salem all on top of each other. And if you don't understand how the school works there as well, I mean, talk about that dynamic because you guys have had some legendary battles that have gone both way, in particular with Salem, but that is such an interesting dynamic that maybe people around the state don't know about.
Yeah, I don't think people understand. There's three schools on one campus essentially, and kids go to school, class in Canton, class in Salem, class in Plymouth. You'll be playing against the kid that you had chemistry class with earlier that day. You don't pick your school. You're drawn out of a hat. Like I think it's in 6th grade, and so it's very unique. Causes for some very intense games. Between the schools, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. High school hockey's a lot of fun, and it's certainly fun to watch Plymouth in action. Gerry Vento kindly joins us. Coach, always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank
Continued success. Happy holidays to you and the family as well. Merry Christmas, and look forward to seeing Plymouth in person. You should, too.